Okay, so basically when you log into Photoshop, what you want to do is go to the Edit tab and then scroll all the way down until you get to Preferences. Click on that once and then go to General. Once you get to the General Preferences, you can then select the Interface tab. This is where you can change the interface of how your Adobe Photoshop looks. You can make it white, gray, a slightly darker gray, and this almost black, but it's really dark gray. So depending on your color preferences, this is where you get to change all that. So you can have an interface that suits whatever you need to be looking at. If you have sensitive eyes, you can just go with a darker color. If you want a brighter environment, you can just blast your eyes out with the white. Okay, workspace, I don't want you to touch anything from that yet. And then when you go to tools, right, if you're working on a computer and you're using a mouse, you really want to select the zoom with scroll wheel option. Even if you're using a trackpad on a laptop, you will also want to select the zoom with scroll wheel. I can't imagine what I would be doing without it. I remember using Photoshop before we had this, and I used to use the zoom, the magnify tool a lot, which is really annoying. But with zoom with scroll wheel, you find that your workflow becomes faster. So these are the options that you want to change. If you have an external hard drive or a flash that's really big, I'm talking something like 64 gigs maybe or above, maybe a 256 gig flash or an external hard drive that's like 1 terabyte or 500 gigs with free space, of course. I'm not talking about your hard drive that's almost full, that you have filled up with torrented movies or whatever. I'm talking about space, a hard drive that has a lot of space, free space on it, and it is connected to the same laptop or computer that is running Photoshop. You also want to use that as a scratch disk. What that means is that Photoshop will then take that space and use it to dump the temporary files, and that actually helps your program run a bit faster, so you're less likely to have any crashes or any freezing from the computer. Depending on the RAM on your system, mine has 16 gigs of RAM. You can assign how much RAM your computer uses. So if you have like 24 gigs of RAM, you can just like bump it up to like, I don't know, 20, or you can just use the default setting on your computer. It's still fine. If you don't have a lot of RAM, I'm talking about if your computer has like 4 gig or 8 gig, don't adjust the slide. Just leave it be, let Photoshop just allocate the amount of RAM it's going to be using on its own. So when you select the scratch disk tab, you can see I have connected like 3 hard drives already. Yeah, and some of them have a bit of space. So, and some actually don't have that much space. I have my C hard drive set up. That's the one with Windows. I have it set up to be a scratch disk only for startup. But when the program is running, it uses one of the 3. I think if not all of them. But it just follows the order in which they arrange. So it uses C for startup, and then the second one is where it dumps most of the temporary files when I'm designing. So sometimes the designs get really big, depending on the canvas you're using, which I'll get into later. But those are some of the most basic things you want to set up in your Photoshop. And once you have those things set up, you just click on OK, and then your program is ready to go. Yeah, so we just went through the technical specs, the technical aspects of what to set up before you start designing. And then next I'll show you how to align the windows in a proper way so that you get rid of everything you don't need, and then you're just left with the things that you do need, because things need to be visible. And once everything is visible, you then are able to just maneuver your way quickly around the program. That way you can actually just, design faster, design better. So that's it. This is the end of the video. Remember to like and subscribe. Do all the nice stuff. Yeah, hit me up in the comments if you have any questions, or if you need any explanations on the settings that we just put in. But if everything makes sense, I'll see you in the next video.